Hey everybody, welcome to Each Other News. We've got Gerry. He's the CEO of a company called Bugcrowd. We've chatted with them before, and he's apparently done some amazing things over there, and we're going to dig into that. Dave, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Julian. Thanks so much for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, let's do it, man. So, I like the sign there, work hard and be nice to people. I mean, it's like if you did those two things in life, you're pretty much 80% of the way, right?
Life is pretty simple. It's about relationships and it's about making sure that you're in this for more than just the money or the role or the job, right? It's about how do we build a culture and build relationships with people that ultimately extend far beyond where we are today, right? One of the things that I've loved throughout my career is being able to work with people time and time again. And that all starts with the old saying, right? People don't remember what you said or what you did, they remember how you made them feel. And
Mm,
that I think is something that just for leaders in the environment that we're all in today, that's something that's more important than ever.
totally, 100%. I mean, if you don't leave an imprint or a dent on the planet, then hey, you didn't exist.
That's
So,
exactly right.
So Dave, so give just of all for those who don't know Bugcrowd, just give us the overview of what the company does.
Absolutely. So we are the leading crowdsourced security intelligence platform in the market today. So we combine the ingenuity of well over 500,000 ethical hackers out in a marketplace with the needs of our customers. And we help find and ultimately help our customers secure the vulnerabilities that exist within their environments and really tap into this incredible creativity that exists out in the ecosystem.
I mean, it's not easy quarterbacking, that many humans, right? I mean, it's look, you've we all got solutions out there, apps like billions of apps. I don't even know what the number is these days, and they got problems. There's always bugs in every software, and how are you going to do it? I mean, the developers that develop the app, they're certainly going to do the basics, but they're not going to figure the bad stuff, right? So
Correct.
companies out there, just walk me through an example. So companies out there got a whole bunch of apps, and they're not quite sure what's in it. They all know that's got probably some bad stuff in it, right? How do you engage with them?
So we can engage with them in a lot of different ways. So typically customers come to us and they already have a basic security program in place. They may have automated testing, their developers are doing secure code training, they're building the applications as securely as they can given the skill sets that they have. And they want an outsider's point of view on what is the security posture of this application.
Mm,
So they come to us and they do things like bug bounty programs where our researchers in the community identify vulnerabilities, and in return for disclosing that to the company, they're given a reward. We can do things like red teaming. We can do things like pen testing to help them understand what is the security posture. And that can be everything from an auditor or a regulator or my board told me that I have to do this, all the way up to organizations that truly want to be more secure and truly want to change the trajectory of their business and leverage it as a competitive differentiator. And the important thing for us is that we're bringing our channel partners along for that journey.
mm.
We're working with some of the largest channel partners and helping them actually extend their service capability to their customers as well.
Right on. At the end of the day, Dave, you don't know what you don't know. All right. And
Exactly right.
you're right. Cool. I got it. We're protected. Yeah. You
Yeah.
got probably 80 layers of technology stack that protects you.
Mhm.
But there's that vulnerability that the bad actors are constantly, probing on. And that's why you kind of need to have a community in a way, right? Take a kick of the tires, so to speak, right?
That's the value of the crowd,
Yep.
right? Having all of these points of views, all of these experiences and skill sets that you never would be able to hire, right? These are some of the most talented security researchers in the world that are doing this. One, obviously, folks are coin operated, they want to earn some money. But the biggest motivator for them is they want to feel like they're doing good, right? We talked about building relationships. They want to feel like they're a part of a team and they're leaving their mark on the universe as well by helping these organizations become more secure.
Yeah, absolutely. And one could argue that without this, you can never be completely secure. And it's
Yeah.
nothing like testing your vulnerability, to see how good you are. It's like, hey man, every athlete's got to go out there and test themselves at some point, right? And then is when
That's
you know
exactly
if you're
right.
number one, number two, or number 22. I don't know how it goes, but yeah, you gotta test your strength at some point. Um, so you drop in there, a couple of years ago. What did you see when? How did you get there? And what's your journey to get there, first of all?
Yeah, so I've spent most of my career in cybersecurity in tech. So previous to joining Bugcrowd, I was the chief revenue officer, chief operating officer for a company called White Hat Security. I was
Mhm.
there for about 6 years. And I was responsible for not only selling the solutions, but then I had to deliver what we sold. And we had a really good run where we were selling on average in a given year 6,000 plus pen tests. Well,
Mhm.
I was now tasked with you have to go deliver the services for 6,000 pen tests. That's really hard to do in this talent environment and
Mhm.
be able to build a bench in a profitable way to be able to do that. So at the time, and this was probably 7, 8 years ago at this point now, uncovered Bugcrowd and this idea of, well, you can tap into this community of researchers. And in our case, we could leverage that as flex capacity to be
Mhm.
able to burst up and burst down based on the needs of our customer base. So got to know the team. I think I was Bugcrowd's first $1 million customer. Got to know the board, got to know the investors, our founder Casey, and really started to build a relationship with the organization. So fast forward 6 years, we had two great exits at White Hat, one to NTT Security. We sold it a second time to Synopsys in 2022. And at that point, I said, I've done the big strategic one of 300,000 plus employees. I really want to get back to a growth focused organization and be in that sweet spot of that kind of taking a business from 40 million to 100 million plus. And had an opportunity to come join the team here at Bugcrowd. And again, for me, it was a little bit of an old homecoming. I believed in the solution. I knew the power of what it could provide. I knew the team, and it was an opportunity to step into a business that I believed had an awesome foundation and was really ready to kind of put the foot on the pedal and accelerate towards building a really big business over time.
Now, sounds like an awesome fit. So when you landed there, right, and you inherited, the bucket, if you will, right? What are some of the things that you saw you liked, and maybe some things you saw you didn't like, and how did you kind of like sort that out?
So I think there's a lot of things that I loved about this business when I joined, right? The brand and the reputation in the market. That was with customers, that was with channel
Mm.
partners, that was with the researcher community was the best I had ever seen or been a part of. Where customers truly love the Bugcrowd platform and the Bugcrowd team. The hackers truly love the platform and they love the team. I think there was some work we needed to do with channel partners to build out a sustainable channel program where they feel like there's the ability to earn alongside of Bugcrowd and there's predictability and they know we're truly partnered to them. There was a lot of work we needed to do across the various teams, right? One of the things I've learned through my career, I'm not a great fit everywhere, and nobody's going to be a great fit everywhere. You can be the best employee at Microsoft, you can be the best employee at Google, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a great employee in a growth stage startup. The same way that I may not be the best Microsoft employee or the best Google employee because I'm not a quote unquote big company guy. So there was a lot there that as we started to look at the teams that we needed to make sure we had the right people around the table for exactly this point in the journey. And there was an opportunity for us to look at that and say, okay, there's some people that just fundamentally are not going to be the right fit. And how do we help coach them and get them to the point in their career where either they can be a good fit here or we help them find somewhere that they can be a good fit, right? We don't want somebody staying that isn't happy, that isn't passionate about what
Mm.
they're doing, doesn't feel fulfilled. Again, it goes back to the culture conversation we had at the beginning. So, how do you bring in the right people for this next phase of the journey? And also realize that you're going to have to coach people along. There's not going to be that perfect fit. You're going to have to find somebody that maybe is 80% of the way there, 70% of the way there, and help bring them along for that journey.
Yeah, I mean it's about the people, right? I mean, if you don't have the right folks in the right positions, good luck. You'll be a swimming upstream type thing,
That's right.
pushing against the grain.
Yeah.
What are some of the characteristics that you were looking for people that you think would be a great fit for a buck crowd?
So the number one thing I look for in any role is, are they motivated to win?
Mm-hmm.
And that motivation has to come from something deeper than money.
Mm-hmm.
If money is your motivator, there's a lot of ups and downs in growth stage companies that if money is the only thing you care about, you're going to fizzle out pretty quickly.
Mm.
So there has to be something, right? I look for what's that chip on the shoulder, and has the person been able to really fine tune that, right? A chip on your shoulder can be a dangerous thing if you let it consume you. But if you can take a step back and really harness the value, right? It could be you didn't come from a household of money growing up and you felt like, okay, this is my path to freedom. I can control my destiny. That's what I want to find, right? Is what is somebody looking for and why do they want to be a part of this team and ultimately win? We look for people that have won before. They know what success looks like. So they know that, hey, we're going down a path and we've got to hit the brakes on this because this doesn't drive success. Or, hey, this I've seen this pattern recognition. I've done this multiple times before. And this is absolutely where, okay, we've got conviction that we're on the right path. Let's really start to accelerate down that road. So when we look at the teams, it's not looking at, hey, have they done that exact role before? It's, do they want to win? Do we think they have the capacity to win? There's table stakes of you have to have a certain aptitude to be able to do the job, right? That's table stakes to kind of get the interview, but to ultimately win over the team. And this isn't just even on the exec team, it's not just my decision, right? They have to mesh in and fit with the team because that's the number one thing that if we get that culture component right, that's going to beat execution every single day. And having the right team around the table that can make the tough decisions, that's willing to put themselves out there and be vulnerable and understand they can show vulnerability amongst the executive team, right? This is not a team that we're going to snipe at each other and say, oh, you were wrong on that. Well, look at that. You made the wrong decision. It's, hey, we all own the decisions that we're making as a leadership team. And we're ultimately all going to support each other, both through the successful times when everything's going well, but also through some of the downtimes and making sure that this team is coming together as a cohesive unit. So that's really what you're looking for in those interview processes, right? It's, can this person fit in? Do they fit and understand how they're going to kind of mesh into this team and they fill some gaps that we might have?
100%. Well, hey, whatever you did worked. 18 months, you're able to raise 100 million bucks. So you seem you're on the right trajectory. What's your vision for where do you want this company to go in the next year or two?
So really simply, I mean, we want to continue to do more of what we're doing, right? Continue to be a resource to our customers, continue to drive an ecosystem for the hacker community to have an opportunity to learn, to earn money, to be part of something bigger. When we think about the metrics for success in this business, right? The number one things we're looking at is how much are we paying to the crowd? How much value are we driving for customers? What are our NPS scores across the hacker community, our employee base, customers? Our NPS in the hacker community is an 84, right? That's off the charts in terms of how strong that is. And it demonstrates that we're adding value for that community. So as we think about that, we take a step back and say, hey, revenue is important. You need to build a sustainable, growing business, right? That's what our shareholders care about. That's ultimately what we as employees care about because that's a lot of the value that will be driven from a stock component at some point. But in terms of looking at this business, we don't look at this in terms of how do we go build a great exit. Like that to me is something that's a function of doing the right things. If we do the right things by our employees, if we do the right things by our partners, if we do the right things by customers and the hacker community, the exit will take care of itself, right? Whether that's a public offering at some point, whether that's a large acquisition at some point, whether that's a we just run a really successful and profitable private company forever. There's a lot of options that are out there for us, but the number one thing is let's control what we can control, which is let's drive value for these groups and continue to invest in the communities that helped get us here, which is the hacker community, our partners, and then ultimately the customer base. And as we see the growth trajectory of this business, we're going to be well over $100 million here in the next couple of years. So we know that we're on the right track from a revenue and a growth perspective. It's now looking at, okay, how do we accelerate that even further, right? I have a dream that I want this business to be a $500 million top line business in the next few years. So how do we help drive that and do the right things today that are going to set us up for success 36 months or 48 months down the road?
Right on. Look, there's a couple of headwinds, right? You got uh, costs, right? People looking at, man, can I really afford, or do I just, cross my fingers and hope, the hackers, go over me or something, that's one problem, one headwind. And the other one is AI and automation. A lot of companies are saying, that's gonna, remove the need for more pen testing, and more pen testing is becoming automated as well. How do you look at those headwinds and gel that within your company?
Yeah, so let's start with the AI side first, right? AI has been a boom for this business. So from the very beginning of this, we partnered with some of the large AI companies. So we run the bug bounty program for OpenAI. So ahead of the ChatGPT launch, we were helping to support them to make sure that they had a mechanism in place. They knew that it was going to be, they knew what they had. They knew it was going to be one of the most popular things to hit in a very long time in terms of customer usage. So how do they make sure they have mechanisms in place to identify vulnerabilities within those systems, right? We've expanded that where we're doing AI testing on LLMs and helping them understand vulnerabilities that exist within those systems. Some of those are traditional security vulnerabilities, the same as you'd see on a web app or a network infrastructure or anything else. But there's also now new safety implications that come with leveraging AI, right? Around hallucinations and is the AI doing something that it shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be capable of doing? And we were one of the first to partner with the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office out of the DoD to help build them an AI safety bias assessment to understand unknown bias that exists within AI environments. AI for us has been something that has been a revenue catalyst more so than a headwind. Now, when we think about where does AI go from here, there is going to be automation and value. We look at AI as a tool, as a target, and as a threat. So from a tool standpoint, 94% of the hackers on our platform are already using AI, right? They're using it to make themselves more efficient. We're using AI internally to make our teams more efficient and drive productivity. I'm of the belief you're not going to replace the human hacker. There's always going to be a need for human creativity and ingenuity to stay one step ahead of what the threat actors are using and what they're leveraging from an AI component. So while I do think that we'll see rapid adoption and continued adoption of AI across scale, the scale components, right? So think about some of the quote unquote grunt work that people do today. There's work there that can be automated and can be leveraged, but the goal there will be allowing our teams, both from a hacker community standpoint and internally, to focus on the things that really matter. When we think about the cost side of things, I think the average breach cost right now is sitting at something like $4.8 million, right, in the latest Verizon data breach report. So when we think about a $5 million security incident versus running a bug bounty program or a pen test for sub $100,000 a year, the ROI there for customers is really compelling, right? We've had customers tell us, this was Motorola Mobility, had told us we saved them over $60 million in breach-related expenses because of the vulnerabilities that were identified. So it's always a conversation. You have to build value. This comes back to the relationships. You have to make sure that as you're working with those customers, that you're helping provide value to them and you're driving their security outcomes. Not what we think is important as the platform or the solution provider, but what are the things that they're tracking internally and what do they really care about that we can help make them more successful.
Do you think your organization, well, obviously, AI, from our conversations with all the AI gods, right? It seems that the damn thing learns a little bit faster than we humans. And so as you're doing work, the thing kind of learns and therefore, it can do a bigger chunk of the workload. How does that impact the number of live hackers, if you will, human hackers? Is that going to impact that? It's going to decrease it? Is that going to augment it? What's your thoughts on how AI work with and replace those types of people?
So I think it will replace some of the work that they have to do today, right? So if we think about a hacker coming in, they're doing recon work, they're doing asset mapping, right? A lot of that can be automated. That's a perfect use case. If we think about in our own business, right, as you're thinking about writing a report for pen testing, there's a lot of work there that can be automated, and AI is really good at writing reports and coming up with summaries. For us, another use case here would be as we look at the global nature of our hacker community, oftentimes there's language barriers. So how do we use summarization and translation capabilities of AI to be able to make it easier for hackers to interact with the Bugcrowd platform? So there's a lot there that we believe it's going to augment. Now, in terms of what we're seeing from a growth in the hacker community, this is something that we continue to see more hackers join the platform than ever before. And what we're seeing is they're skewed younger. So these
Mm.
are quote unquote kids that are self-taught. They're learning on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're learning in some of the free university programs. Maybe they're in a computer science program. A lot of the universities are starting to adopt this. Monash University out of Australia is a great example of this, where they're leveraging their bug bounty program as a teaching tool with their students. They're encouraging their students, come hack the university and we'll pay you to do it. And then they're finding the best and brightest and hiring them as part of their security teams. So there's ways to build this ecosystem and leverage the value and the scale component that you get from augmenting the human capability with AI, but still being able to leverage the human component, the human creativity element to drive forward success.
Yeah, but it's a cool job too, for the folks coming out of university don't know what to do, right?
That's right.
I mean, look, one thing we know for sure is cybersecurity is going to be there forever, I think. I don't know how it's going to not be there, but it's challenging, and I think the cyber war is just growing and growing, exponentially. I just think there's just not enough hackers, bad actors, actually, I should say, and that's why we just don't have more hack problems that we're facing with today. And as AI augment their skill set, right, so they can hack more with
Yeah.
less resources, that's going to scale the whole hackathon, if you will, right?
Well,
So
I think that's a really good point to call out, right? Is now you're giving unsophisticated bad actors,
yeah,
unsophisticated criminals, much more sophisticated tool sets to become and act as if they are much more sophisticated threat actors. We're seeing that there's a blending, and it's harder to tell nation states versus criminal organizations apart when you're looking at some of the attacks that they're doing, because these organizations are becoming far more sophisticated given some of the tool set that's available. So you're exactly right. And that's where we look at AI being a threat, right? As you are starting to accelerate the innovation of bad actors, and you need to make sure that you're empowering the defender to keep up with that pace of innovation.
yeah. I mean, state actors, and bad actors, they're all the same humans. I
That's
won't,
right.
I won't surprise they share the same office, but hey, what the hell do I know, right? Um, so just kind of like, so when the last time I spoke to you guys, you were sort of like tethering on the actual, channel, right? How do you work with the channel? Could you work
Yeah.
with the channel? What's that going to look like? So what does it look like today, Dave? How do you work with the channel?
So we're channel first. So we work with our channel partners, and we encourage all of our sellers that in every single transaction they're doing their best to include a channel partner in those conversations. So we make sure that for our sellers internally, they're paid the same and there's comp neutrality, whether it's through a channel partner or whether they do a direct
Mm.
deals. We're encouraging them to go through that. We're building strategic relationships. GuidePoint Security is a great example. Their CEO and chairman, Mike Volk, was just at our sales kickoff a couple of weeks ago, where they won Channel Partner of the Year. And they're an important partner for us as we think about scaling our organization. Now, they're one of many in terms of who we work with, but the goal there is that they understand we're in this with them, right? And we're never going to have a scenario where we don't want to work with a channel partner, right? If it's
Mm.
easier for our customers to transact and that's how they want to go, and we're training our teams to ask those questions. Hey, who do you normally buy your technology through? Who do you
Mm.
normally work with for some of these transactions? Great. Let's go work with them and make this easier for you to do business with Bugcrowd. And then the flip side of that is let's build a deeper relationship with that channel partner, right? I spent some time at a reseller, so I've come out of this world a little bit, and we want to make sure that as we think about, as I sit here in the CEO seat, it's a no-brainer for us to work with the channel partners and the channel community, right? That's a scale that I can never reach by hiring. I can never hire enough sales reps to
Mm.
reach the level of scale that we want to get to without being a strong partner to our channel.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I don't know if you know the latest stats, but about 95% of all cybersecurity is either to, through, or with a partner.
That's exactly
So
right.
they are the gatekeepers of pretty much 100% of the planet. So if
Yep.
you're not working with them, and look, every channel partner, every MSP out there, right? Pen testing is part of the gig, right? Their number one challenge is cost, right? How do I, get my customers to bite into this? Because I think you and I would agree you can't do one pen test a year, it doesn't it doesn't work.
Uh,
It's not like
I could
getting a
not agree
blood
more.
checkout. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So how is this? Are we moving towards a continuous pen testing gig where we're constantly, probing at the perimeters to see what's happening? Because, one and done is just not working anymore, right?
It doesn't. And oftentimes you see that one and done as the result of I need to check the box for compliance and
Yeah.
say that I did my annual pen test, right? The best organizations are always testing their applications, they're always testing their network, they're always testing their infrastructure. And what we've built to help support that is what we call continuous attack surface pen testing. So
Right.
you think about the attack surface management world where you're always scanning your environment in a continuous way to understand, hey, did your marketing team just launch a new landing page? Did your developers just put a new app? Did you just build a new API to connect to that new partner that you signed on? So once we identify that, okay, there is a new asset within this environment, we immediately go and do a pen test against that in a continuous way. We're always testing the environment. That starts to translate over as you go deeper down the path of offensive security testing, where you start thinking about red teaming. And how do you do that in a continuous way? So when there is a new vulnerability that's been identified, they can go and proactively test your environment, identify where that exists, and be able to give you results on, hey, this checked out and you don't have this, or you do have this vulnerability in your environment, and here's some guidance on how you would go and remediate that.
So they just give a sense of to the community out there of what should they expect to pay for a good pen test, a continuous pen test, and I guess the one ofs, I think we kind of know the numbers, but a good recurring pen test. What should they be investing?
Yeah, so I think as you look at it, always varies based on the scope and the
Sure.
size of the application and all of that, right? But
Mhm.
traditionally, you're somewhere in that 50K to 100K a year mark. If you want somebody that's there that's always going to be doing a certain amount of testing in a continuous way, obviously you can do something that's less expensive than that. And we certainly have customers that are far larger than that based on what they have in their environment and the type of testing that they're looking for. But a rough kind of rule of
Yeah,
math here would be
for
somewhere
sure.
around 50 to 100K mark, and being able to get real time access to vulnerabilities as they're identified.
Yeah, look, you can't hire a cybersecurity expert for that
That's
price.
exactly right.
So good luck with that, right? And what are you going to hire a cybersecurity expert to do? Is to check to make sure you don't have Swiss cheese in your security platform, right? So
That's right.
look, it just makes sense, and I think channel partners need to rethink how they approach the whole game, because putting up walls and barriers and all sorts of things to prevent attacks from happening is necessary. It's cool. Eventually, you will get hacked, so you also got to know what's going to happen after you do get hacked. And the only thing you can do to reduce that footprint is by probing that that strength of your cybersecurity posture as regular as possible. So it's great. It's great work that you guys are doing. Um, Dave, I'll leave you with the last word here. What are some of the things you'd like to leave the community with in terms of what what type of leadership skills, what type of leadership things they should be leading in with their teams to move forward, and any advice you have for the world of cybersecurity and pen testing.
Well, let's touch on the leadership side at first, right? I think the number one thing I've learned in my career, and I've had a lot of really smart people that have helped me learn this, is be yourself. Don't
Mm,
think you're putting on the costume of what a CEO is supposed to be, or what a CRO is supposed to be, or what a VP of sales is supposed to be. Be who you are, right? You're never going to do it the same way as somebody else. You simply mimicking what you've seen work by somebody else typically is not going to work for you, right? Be yourself and ultimately show up that way. You should be showing up at work the same way that you're showing up at home. I think in the cybersecurity and the pen testing side, and you just brought up a great point with channel partners, we want to help augment the services and the capabilities that they're delivering to their customers. So the same way that I started with Bugcrowd as a partner and I leveraged Bugcrowd to power some of the pen testing that I was selling, we want to do that for our channel partners as well. And they have the capability now to go out and sell pen testing in a continuous way. And we can take care of some of the back end work for them and help supply the right resources and capability for them. And all of this is powered by the ingenuity of the hacker community. And that's the value of the Bugcrowd platform, is being able to bring exactly the right resource at exactly the right time to help solve that customer problem.
Good stuff. Well, look, MSPs out there, they have to offer some kind of a pen test, and
That's right.
please, you can't do pen testing by yourself. You got to have a third party company verifying this stuff. I mean, it's like getting an audit and you audit yourself. It doesn't
That's
really
right.
work that way, right?
Yeah,
So it just kind of makes a lot of sense. The website address for them to learn more, I believe, is bugcrowd.com, right?
that's correct.
All right, there you go. Dave, it's been a pleasure. Keep us posted how things are coming along. It's for MSPs out there, they need this service. The challenge is affordability. How does it work? How do they partner with you? That type of thing. And I'm pretty sure you guys could figure all that stuff out. All right.
Awesome. That sounds great. Julian, again, thanks so much for having me. This has been fun.
Pleasure, Dave. Cheers.
Bye bye.